Tonight has been a crazy night. Dream accomplished, but I'm not done yet. Stay tuned.
Morant. Oh! A jawbreaker! My goodness! Ja Morant taking one out of the rafters.
Nah, I'm fine in the West.
You feel like you got that same joy right now that we used to seeing from you?
No.
It's reached a point where Ja Morant's career cannot continue in Memphis.
I gotta say, watching that made me a little bit sad because Ja is such a fun player to watch at his best, and this has just been tough. It's his 7th season in the league. It's all been in Memphis, and he's already one of the best players in Grizzlies history, right? He ranks first all-time in points per game, in 30-point games. He also has the 2nd most assists per game for the franchise all-time. But this is a very different Ja Morant that we're seeing right now. And Shams, you reported last week that for the first time, the Grizzlies, they are open to moving on from Ja Morant. So what does this look like now?
Malika, this is potentially the beginning of Ja Morant's exit in Memphis. And from my understanding, Miami, Sacramento, multiple other teams have a level of interest and are pursuing Ja Morant. Rival executives have told me that the Grizzlies are seeking young players and draft picks in any potential deal that involves Ja Morant. He's under contract, though, through 2028. So there's significant team control here that the Grizzlies still do have. So unlike Trae Young, who had a player option for next year, there's not that level of urgency. But clearly, could both sides be better off with a fresh start for teams like Miami or Sacramento or other interested teams around the league, for them to get potentially a tantalizing player like Ja Morant? We know about the injuries. We know about the off-court issues. But it was pretty interesting news for several teams on Friday that the Grizzlies, for the first time since Ja Morant was drafted number 2 overall in 2019, they are open and entertaining offers to move him.
So the Grizzlies practiced today in Berlin, where they're there to play the Magic for a game this week. Ja did not speak to the media. He has not spoken to the media since these reports became public. I will say, in talking to executives around the league, I just have to report that I don't think Ja's value is very high right now. He is having a terrible shooting season, and as he has gone farther in his career and has dealt with injuries, he is driven to the basket less and less and shot more and more. And the more he shoots, the less his efficiency is. So that doesn't mean that he can't go back to being the dynamic player that he was before some of the injuries. But right now, if you're looking at interest in Ja Morant, you're looking at buying low. And that's what I suspect the offers, the type of offers the Grizzlies are going to get.
Well, what is the player? Who is the player, Shump, that a potential team would be getting in Ja Morant?
Well, right now, the player that you're getting is a thinking Ja. Right now, Ja's in a prove-it mode, and he's never faced that in his career, right? You come in, you already got the team playing behind you. You're playing athletic. If you see right here, you see his kill zone. You see where he's got to get to. He's not going to settle. He's going to make sure that you have to cleanse, get out the lane, and he's going to get in there and do what he does best. When you see him this year, a lot of times people are sagging off him, which we knew that would come. He's such a headache if you have to deal with him going downhill. But you see him settling for these jump shots that he doesn't normally settle for. He usually goes against the traffic, gets off 1 or 2 legs, and he figures it out in the air. Right now, he's settling for that to show people that he can shoot. Yeah. He's settling for that to show, like, I'm adding to my game. And I think that when he gets into that Heat uniform, he's gonna be able
that right in there
to play a little, have a little fun and play free.
So Iman says when he gets into a Heat uniform. This is where I have to say, Mr. Marks, is that possible? Could we see Ja in a Heat uniform?
Ask and you shall receive here. I think, listen, Sham said Ja Morant's got 2 more years after this, $39 million. Terry Rozier is going to be the player to watch when we get closer to this deadline. Remember, Miami could have waived him last week and saved some money. They elected not to. He's got a big expiring contract. He's on immediate leave. And then if you're looking to try to buy low, a player like Davion Mitchell to make the money work, he's got another year left. They still have some picks down here, 2029, and if we add that in there, that certainly works as far as for a Ja Morant trade. Now, the question for Miami, you still have Tyler Hero and Norman Powell. How does Ja Morant fit? Right. But if you're the Heat and you can get a player like that and try to buy low, that's the direction you would want to go toward.
Well, the Heat, they're running an even more extreme version of the Grizzlies offense, right, under Taylor Jenkins, that Ja was not a huge fan of, Brian. So I'm curious if that would factor in at all here.
I'm sure it would factor in, but I'm sure if you felt comfortable about the price, you would sort of figure it out later. But that would be something that would have to be discussed. The Heat have set their entire organization up to play the way that Ja didn't want to play a year ago in Memphis.
Okay, well, that is the Ja Morant
Then
front.
we just need to, let's all go to Prime sit down, have some steak, have some wine. We figure out how we gonna play this year.
There is nothing that a good filet mignon cannot solve here.
South Beach, baby.
Shams, let's get to some more news here because this afternoon you reported that the Maverick star, Anthony Davis, this is a bummer. He's likely to undergo surgery to repair a ligament in his left hand and miss several months. So although Davis would be out here, Shams, there's a lot of factors. Can you first of all explain what we're looking at in terms of Anthony Davis's absence here?
So, Malika, I'm told Anthony Davis will miss at least 2 to 3 months. He's meeting with a hand specialist, Dr. Stephen Shin, in Los Angeles, actually, as we speak right now, to determine what type of surgery is required for this ligament damage in that left hand. But for all intents and purposes, his season in Dallas this year is over because of the Mavericks' direction, where they're at in the season overall. But you know what's been an interesting wrinkle, even after this ligament damage was revealed on Friday, is sources tell me the Mavericks have actually started renewed conversations with multiple teams that are interested in Anthony Davis. These are teams that feel like, okay, maybe Anthony Davis has a chance to return during the playoffs and also could have a long-term future with said team the next 2 to 4 years. And so, listen, the cost is going to be lower than it was a month ago before he had this injury. He had a groin late December on Christmas Day. They thought, they dodged a bullet in a lot of ways, and now he has this serious hand injury. The cost is going to be lower, but there are multiple teams still seeing, will the Dallas Mavericks trade Anthony Davis before the deadline?
With all due respect to a guy who's going to be a Hall of Famer and a champion and a multi-time Olympic champion, again, I will tell you that talking to people around the league, the value here for Anthony Davis is very low. We're talking about a guy who's got injury problems, is in his mid-30s, and is owed $120 million over the next 2 years. And the reality is, this is probably going to be a restructuring or tank situation for the Mavericks, and they are a second apron team next year, Bobby Martin.
We're trying to target a team like Atlanta, who's got some of these expiring contracts. Remember, the Trae Young trade gave them a financial runway for next year. You remove that money. When you look at Anthony Davis at $54 million, essentially you have to get right around $50 million in salary to send out. Kristaps Porzingis is on an expiring contract. You look at a player like Luke Kennard is on an expiring contract. You cannot add Corey Kispert because he was just traded for. Where else can you find money? Is sending your former first-round pick Zachary Richey, is that too rich to send out $50 million here? And a deal like that works, and we're not even talking about draft picks. If the Mavericks just want to try to get off his money, that's the angle you're going at. But if you're Atlanta, where are you 3 months from now? Are you a play-in team? Are you out of the playoffs? Can you wait towards then? Big question for the Hawks if that's who they want to pursue.
Well, I think that we can say what we want about him being Mr. Glass. I totally understand AD gets hurt a lot. I totally get that. I was a guy, being a Chicago guy, I'm biased for Chicago guys, but I had to play in a role where you want me to play up until the point that I'm hurt, because if I'm doing so and I'm affecting the game in the right way, the Cavs are going to win in that situation. So I had to deal with injuries, but I also had to run through screens in a terrible way. Like, I kind of knew at some point I'm going to have some nicks and bruises, whatever. With AD, when you start the playoffs, he does exactly what you need him to do just by being on the team, being on the floor. You know what I'm saying? Changing shots at the rim, being able to know what you got going on as far as at the end of the game, who needs to get the ball, how do we get it to him, what's the rotation, how do I lead this team in different ways. I think Anthony Davis does a lot of different things, and that's not a secret around the league. When you got to deal with him when he's healthy, you would love to have him. It's the same thing we had with Draymond Green. They say what they want about Draymond Green. When it comes down to it, you love to have him as a teammate if he's on your team. It's just when he's on the other side.
A big factor in this is going to be what the Mavs are going to make public and what they're going to say about this injury, because Shams is giving an update. They're waiting for it. Having a surgery that maybe is out 6 weeks versus having a surgery where you're out 2 to 3 months, that obviously affects his value for this year, which affects what they could get for him for this year.
But if the Dallas Mavericks, Bobby said this, are intent on getting off that money and maybe improving their draft position, that is something to monitor how much they want to prioritize.
I know that it is crazy to say, and I do not mean it to be offensive, but when I talk to people in the league, a guy who was traded for Luka Doncic a year ago literally could just get traded this year for expiring money, just to get his money off the books.
Well.